Squid Game. It's everywhere. Statistics show that if you've got Netflix, you've already watched Squid Game twice. 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, 90% on Netflix, and #1 in our hearts. It seems like this little show from South Korea about murdering the poor has landed itself as the must-see show of 2021. But the question I want to ask here that I see nobody else is asking is, just how Squid Game is Squid Game? But Shnon, you moron, I hear you implore. Squid Game is clearly very Squid Game. I mean, it's in the title. Well, astute viewer, I feel like I'm even more qualified than you to answer this burning question, for you see, my last name is Squid Game. In this video, I am going to break down each episode of Squid Game and discuss just how Squid Game they are, and the answers may shock you. Spoilers for Squid Game. Episode 1 starts off with a game of Squid Game. So far, so good. In fact, for the first 2 minutes and 26 seconds, the show is 100% Squid Game. We then cut to the title card and, look, I'm going to be honest, I can't read, but I'm going to make an educated guess that this says Squid Game. So good. We're like, not even 3 minutes in, and we've already had 2 Squid Game. But then, we gotta wait like 42 minutes for the next Squid Game to start. I mean, that's a lot of Squid Game downtime after the intro, which seems to promise pure, undistilled Squid Game. Well, let's go through those minutes, because some critics and literature nerds with their bachelor degrees probably think that it's important for the Squid Game to have context and character development. Well, to them, I say, I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And, share with your friends, because this is like my first video and I'm really feeling insecure about it. We start off with our main character, Ji-hoon, who's in the process of trying to scab money off his elderly mother to go gambling. This is the first of many times in the pilot that we see Ji-hoon is a bit of a prick. By the way, I acknowledge that I'm probably going to pronounce all of these names wrong, and I apologize. Please be aware that it's not my accent, it's that I'm an idiot. So, anyway, his mum says, no, you're gonna gamble it, and Ji-hoon steals her credit card. I promise he's the good guy. He goes and gambles it, and he wins a bit of money, which he promptly puts in a pocket that has a hole in it. He then takes his daughter out to dinner for her birthday, and she tries to shoot him for being a bad father. After Ji-hoon escapes, a mysterious suited man approaches him at a train station with a strange request.
그럼 몸으로 때우시면 됩니다. 몸으로요?
Now, I was maybe a bit harsher earlier when I said that we had 42 minutes of Squid Game downtime, because some would say that this scene is actually a Squid Game, and I kind of agree, but I also kind of think that the prospect of winning money doesn't really apply here, because if I'm honest, I'd probably let Gong-yu slap me in the face for free. He's a really handsome man. Anyway, after Ji-hoon gets his, the suited man says, hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, and Ji-hoon promises he won't ghost. Later, he calls the number, and then gets in an unmarked van and takes a nap. He wakes up in a room with a couple of hundred other kinky lonely singles in his area, and introduces himself to some supporting characters. We meet Old Man. We don't actually find out his name until much later. Sung-woo, who is actually Ji-hoon's friend, and he's the pride of their village, and he's a genius who went to SNU. And we also meet Pickpocket and Snakeface. They have real names, but I don't feel like mispronouncing them, and I know I can pronounce Snakeface because my last name is Snakeface. Anyway, it turns out Ji-hoon knows Pickpocket because she bumped into him earlier in the episode. She probably would have pickpocketed him too, but luckily, his money had already fallen through the hole in his pocket. Cheeky. Some guards in some very cosplayable outfits roll in and say, you guys are desperate for money, so we'll give you some money if you play some Squid Game. And thus begins our first real Squid Game. They play red light, green light. But when the contestants move, they get shot. Most of the contestants freak out after seeing people get shot, and then they too get shot. Eventually, most of them calm down and realize they've just got to freeze. They've got to stay still. But not Old Man. He's loving it. He's like, look at me go. I'm moving. I'm bloody creeping. They all start moving and creeping, but Ji-hoon goes over. He's gonna eat it. Saved at the last second by our favorite, precious little baby boy Ali. All the named characters make it, and Comic-Con 2022 clean up the stragglers. The camera pulls back and we see that we're not even in Korea anymore. We're on Squid Game Island, baby, and episode 1 ends. So we've actually had quite a bit of Squid Game so far. Turns out that the wait was worth it because that ending, that was some Squid Game. But don't get too used to it because episode 2 doesn't even have a Squid Game. We start out and the contestants vote to not even Squid Game anymore. And don't even try to tell me that this is a Squid Game. It's just voting. bloody going down to your primary school and voting for your local MP, bloody getting a sausage in bread. You reckon that's a Squid Game? I don't think so. Characters all go home and we get to see a bit of backstory for each of them while they figure out that maybe actually in this show called Squid Game, there should probably be some Squid Game after all. We see Ji-hoon go to the police station and be all like, "You've got to listen to me. This show is just ripping off Alice in Borderland." The cops don't believe him and we're introduced to our detective friend, Jun-ho. Jun-ho is important because while our main cast are busy Squid Gaming, he's going to be scurrying about behind the scenes and bloody finding world building and stuff. We see some more of Ji-hoon letting down his family. We see that Sang-woo is actually not that much of a genius. We see that Pickpocket has a little brother. We see that Old Man can put away his liquor like a mad dog. We see that Snakeface is a member of the mob. Really, Squid Game? I could not have figured that out from the tattoo of the snake on his face. And we also see that Ali is just the loveliest guy. Look at him, with his family, his little baby. He's not even poor because he's bad with money. His boss just won't pay him. I'm glad he got his hand squished. Anyway, the characters all realize that they've got to go back to the Squid Game, and it's time for episode 3, Squid Game 2, the Squid Gaming. Oh, and also Jun-ho has snuck into the Squid Game because he's pretty sure his brother was in a Squid Game at some point. We're back in the Squid Game, and we meet a new character, Min-yo, and she's all like to Snakeface, "Hey, I'll chop you out some durries and root you in the dunny if you want." And he does! We also meet Sneaky Doctor Man, who seems to be getting hints as to what the Squid Game are gonna be before the Squid Game begin. Our cast roll into our second Squid Game and they get a choice of 4 doors with shapes on them. Sang-woo immediately figures out what this game is, but chooses not to tell his friends because Sang-woo is a bit of a prick. Our team all pick a door and get a tin, and inside that tin is an already overused meme template. I mean, it's a sugar snap with a shape indented in it. Our Squid Gamers need to use the attached sewing needle to cut out their shapes without breaking them, or they get shot. Sang-woo knew this, so he chose a triangle and walks out in no time. Pickpocket also gets a triangle, so she's good as well. Our gorgeous little duckling Ali gets a circle, and he is finished pretty quickly too. Min-yo uses a cigarette lighter that she smuggled in with her coochie, and she finishes. She gives the cigarette lighter to Snakeface, and he's out of there too. Ji-hoon was lined up in front of the door that had a picture of Gong-yu in his suit, so he just starts licking away. Just because the meme is overused does not mean that I can't use it too. Old Man is like, "Yo, check out the mad speedrunning strats," and they're all good. As far as Squid Game in this episode, honestly, it's just kind of good to be back on Squid Game Island. It's not the most Squid Game episode, but it is the most memeable, and I think we can all agree that the real Squid Game was the memes we made along the way. We're back in the main room and our pink boys are handing out eggs. Snakeface and his crew take more than 1 egg each and then murder a guy because he wanted his egg. The guards do nothing, they just take the body. Does this mean this is all a Squid Game? Faced with this shocking new meta, our protagonists agree to not murder each other and squat up for the night. Meanwhile, Jun-ho has been exploring and stumbled across the organ harvesting side quest. Remember Mr. Sneaky Doctor from earlier? He's been grabbing kidneys and stuff in exchange for hints as to what the Squid Game are going to be. Despite being like the worst liar in the world, Jun-ho somehow manages to keep his cover. Back in the plot, Ji-hoon approaches Pickpocket like, "Hey, you online? We're down a party member," but she's not really interested. Sneaky Doctor Man returns from the Nightmare Dungeon and approaches Snakeface like, "Hey, you look like you totally won't betray me at the earliest opportunity." That night, the lights go out and Snakeface and his boys start murdering. Now, I know what you're thinking, but let's be honest, this clearly isn't a Squid Game. Yeah, there's murder, and contestants are being eliminated, and there's money dropping in the thing, and it was all organised by the Game Masters. Yo, I haven't even mentioned the Dr. Doom-looking dude who's running the show. It's fine. Like, for the main bad guy, he's really not that important to the overall plot, and he doesn't really have any character traits apart from, like, another cosplayable getup. I mean, like, yeah, spoilers, his real identity is supposed to be, like, this big reveal.
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch!
But really, it's not that important to the main storyline. I mean, I guess you can say he's like a dark mirror to Ji-hoon's character arc, but, like, we're not really at that point in the analysis yet. Is this even an analysis video? What am I doing here? Where was I? Oh, yeah, so this slumber party bit isn't a Squid Game. At this point, this is still a Squid Gameless episode, but don't worry, a Squid Game be coming. Anyway, a bunch of jobbers get murdered, and then Ali scares off the bad guys with his big swinging dick. After seeing their mad don't get murdered skills, Pickpocket joins the squad. Just in time too, because the next Squid Game needs them to have a team of 10 members. Sang-woo prickishly points out that they've got a woman and an old man in their squad, so if the next challenge requires strength, then not even Ali's big dick swinging strength will be enough to save them. To combat this, the team recruits Ji-young, who is as precious as a button, guy, and religious douchebag. To clarify, I'm not saying that being religious makes you a douchebag. I'm just saying that this guy is a douchebag because he's religious. They also get landed with Min Yen because Snakeface turfed her to make room on his team for Mr. Sneaky Doctor, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Undertaker. The next Squid Game is Tug of War, and the roster of Monday Night Raw go first. Snakeface and his squad drag the other team to their death, and they leave for the next episode. The main characters are up next, facing off against a bunch of characters that haven't been seen until now, and I wonder who is going to win. Despite the outcome of this match being a foregone conclusion to literally anyone who's ever heard a story before, it is still tense as hell as Old Man comes up with a plan to just pull real hard. Sung-woo hates the elderly though, and he's like, nah, I'm a push, and the episode cuts to black. Turns out they won. Back in the bunk room, Min Yen continues to be the most annoying character, so Ali bullies her until she leaves. Thanks, Ali. I want you to be safe. Please don't die. I don't know what I'd do without you. The teams all decide that rather than having another midnight punch on, they should wall up and keep watch throughout the night. This plan goes well until Old Man pisses himself. Meanwhile, Junho realizes that so far he's accomplished 3/5 of fuck all in this show, and there's actually no more Squid Game in this episode. It's my time, he says, and solos the entire raid, making it to the room with all the good loot. Mr. Sneaky Doctor escapes, but Dr. Doom shoots him for being a bad father. Dr. Doom has Squid Game Island under lockdown because this B plot is getting dangerously close to becoming an A plot. Ji-hoon gives Old Man his jacket to hide his shame. The contestants have been Squid Gaming for a few days now with no showers, so I guess the smell of wee is mostly covered up by the smell of BO. Gross. Doom makes the decision that the Squid Game shall continue and they'll just catch the intruder later. He correctly assumes that Junho is just hanging out in a cupboard somewhere, exhausted from all the scenes he had last episode. For this next Squid Game, our contestants have to pair up, and look, I'm going to be real with you. If you haven't actually seen Squid Game and you have any intention of watching it, go do that now before you watch the rest of this video. I'm serious. This Squid Game, just go watch it, okay? We make fun, but Squid Game is a really good show. I'm glad it's gotten this popular. It's not perfect, but I'd rather a show be a little wonky here and there and still be interesting, rather than a Breaking Bad where everyone claims it's perfect and it's just overrated. Yeah, I said it. Breaking Bad is overrated. Leave your hate below. I love it. It fuels me. Oh, you probably didn't get it. You probably thought that Walter White was an unlikable character, but the thing is, no, I got it. It's fine. It's not the greatest show ever made. It's just good. Just because it blew your mind that a show had a villain protagonist doesn't mean the show is perfect. Shut up. What are we talking about? Oh, yeah, so the team split into pairs, and most of them are like, hell yeah, buddy up, get to hang out with my man, we'll play a Squid Game, should be a good time. All except Min Yen, she gets left by herself because she's the worst. She gets dragged off by guards. Sang-woo calls dibs on Ali, Snakeface grabs one of his jobber friends, the two girls pair up, and Ji-hoon, of course, buddies up with Old Man. They have a moment where they're like, hey, I got your back, man, we're ganboos. The announcer gets on the microphone and says, everyone, look at your partner. You're gonna play marbles. Loser dies. And Jesus, it's rough. We see all of our pairs of friends just sit with that for a moment. Even Snakeface, who's a bit of a prick, is like, this is kind of messed up. So now the team start playing. Unfortunately for Ji-hoon, Old Man's off. He starts wandering about, and it looks like Chekhov's brain tumor that he mentioned back in episode 1 has finally caught up with him. He starts dithering about, he's talking about his family and looking for his house, he's totally lost his marbles. Oh, it's symbolism. Meanwhile, Ali is kicking Sang-woo's ass because even though he's a genius and he went to SNU, he sucks at marbles apparently. He's down to his last marble and he loses it, cracking a tanty that would make a Kardashian toddler say, whoa, maybe tone it back a bit, mate. Ali is like, dude, chill. People are looking at us, and Sang-woo says, I've got an idea. Sang-woo says, I've got an idea. What if you give me all the marbles for a moment, and I'll just hide them from view for a moment, and then give them back to you with a shit necklace so that you can hang them around your neck for safekeeping? I know our tracksuits have pockets, but just trust me, I really think this necklace thing is the way to go. Ali hasn't noticed that Sang-woo has been acting sus since the beginning of the Squid Games, and is like, Yeah, nah, this is totally a normal thing to do. It's so normal that I'm not even going to check these marbles. And it's pretty much at this point that I stopped caring if Ali died. Like, come on, dude, have you not been looking at Sung-woo? He's very clearly been only out for himself in this Squid Game. I know you haven't been shown to be the brightest tool in the shed, but to actually go along with this nonsense plan, you'd have to be dumber than a bag of rocks. Oh, it's symbolism. Snakeface is losing to his goon, but he goes over to the guard and he's like, he's winning and my name comes first in the credits, so do you reckon you could do something about that? The guard makes the goon promise that it won't happen again, then shoots him. Snakeface goes back to his trailer. Meanwhile, our two girl characters are kind of just vibing. They decide to take this opportunity to get some backstory and exposition in during a Squid Game. Take that, episode 2. We get to know both of them, but because Pickpocket has the more heart-wrenching backstory, she gets to win. Rest in peace, Jeong. We hardly knew you. Ji-hoon finally gets Old Man to sit down and play some marbles, but forgot the Old Man is a goddamn hustler. He gets absolutely minced and he's down to his last marble before Old Man starts to lose it again. Ji-hoon gets the opportunity to trick Old Man after his memory fails, and it's a moral dilemma because although Ji-hoon used to be a bit of a prick, he's undergone character development and he's friends with Old Man. But he doesn't want to die either, and Old Man is very clearly losing it, and Ji-hoon still has his daughter to live for. It's good storytelling. Tears in his eyes, Ji-hoon lies and gets back all of his marbles. Old Man, now down to his last marble, looks into Ji-hoon's eyes. Alright lad, he says, all or nothing, let's go. Ji-hoon is like, what? I've got 19 marbles, you've got 1. That doesn't make any sense, and this next bit, I'm not even going to edit it for a joke. It's just a really good moment and kind of the climax of the best episode in the show. Ji-hoon's like, it doesn't make sense. And Old Man is like,
내 굿을 가져간 건 말이 되고?
I'm kidding. Before Old Man dies, he has a moment of lucidity where he remembers his name that he couldn't recall throughout the whole show. And we get this really poignant and sincere moment where he remembers right before he dies as Ji-hoon walks away, leaving him to his death. Haunting. Now that was a Squid Game. That was such a Squid Game that, once again, we have an episode with no Squid Game. Psych! I'm just kidding. This episode has heaps of Squid Game. Damn, they really backloaded the Squid Game in this show. There's almost not enough screen time for Junho's irrelevant subplot because of all this Squid Game in the way. Don't worry, Junho fans, I said almost not enough screen time. In this episode, he gets to almost get freaky with this old fat guy. For you see, Junho has once again leveled up his loot, and he's now sneaking around dressed as a waiter. Unfortunately, the cast of Eyes Wide Shut have arrived to watch some Squid Game, and this one guy in a tiger mask is like, hey baby, you up? And takes Junho away for a bit of freaky deaky. He assumes the position, but Junho grabs a handful of berries and pulls a gun on him. If he already had the gun, why did he bother grabbing his balls? Just seems like you probably try and avoid the Old Man balls instead of going for a big grab on them. Anyway, Junho is like, explain everything, and the camera cuts away because we've still got a few episodes left before everything is revealed. Once again, it's Squid Game time. So I kind of have mixed feelings about this Squid Game, which I'm going to get into, but the main issue that I have is that the premise of this game is completely unfair. Dr. Doom completely predicates his entire Squid Game philosophy around starting everyone on an even footing. It's the reason he's running the Squid Game. Outside, you were treated unfairly, but in here, you're all equal and nobody gets an advantage. But this game proves he's full of it. Our Squid Gamers all get to pick a Guernsey numbered from 1 to 16, 1 for each player left. Then they must attempt to cross a bridge made up of glass plates wherein they have a 50% chance of just straight up being killed. Now, I have many problems with this premise. First up, if you choose a low number, then you are absolutely screwed. As pointed out by a character in the show, raise 2 to the power of whatever number of tiles you've got left, that's your chance of successfully crossing the bridge. Poor player 1 starts with 18 tiles, meaning he has a 1 in 262,144 chance of successfully guessing his way across. Not very fair and equitable now, is it, Dr. Doom?
평등이야.
You might say, but the characters all had a chance to choose their order, so it is fair. No, that's only fair if they know anything at all about the game beforehand. Ridiculous. So, if you take this into consideration, you might think that maybe there's some kind of trick, as we see in the second Squid Game when Ji-hoon tongue tickles his way to success, as well as when Sung-woo murdered his friend. Ale died, by the way, I forgot to mention that. The guards don't really mind if you complete a challenge in a way that wasn't originally intended. So, Maybe there's like some technique you could use to try and complete this challenge, no dramas. Perhaps if you were an expert in glass and could tell the difference between regular and tempered glass just by sight, you'd have a chance at winning. My man here spent years working with glass, and he's like, oh my god, it's my time. Been bloody playing marbles and pulling rope like a dummy, and now I, Mr. Glass Factory, I'm gonna glass stand my way to victory. But Dr. Doom is like, no, there'll be none of that. So he's changing rules on the fly now. It's wrong. It undermines his characterization up until this point. With that being said, Mr. Glass Factory is the only one that really tries an approach more tactical than flipping a coin. I guess Snakeface is like, yeah, look, I'm not gonna go. Someone else better go or we all just die, shrug emoji. This doesn't work because Min Yen tackles him off and they both die. As an aside, I'd have really loved it if the panel she tackled him onto was one of the tempered glass ones. Like, it's super dramatic and slow-mo and they're both just like donk, and then they kind of have to shimmy back to a standing position because they're both still alive. Moving on, it's like the Squid Gamers don't understand how weight distribution works at all. I felt like I was going insane watching this Squid Game because you can clearly see that the glass is supported by steel railings. Jump on that bit. Even if the regular glass cracks, you still won't fall because you're on the railing. Jumping with 2 feet directly into the center of the panel, what are you doing? So most of the characters die, and we're down to our last 4. Also, you could just reach over to the next panel and punch it. You're in bare feet, but just take your track jacket off, wrap your hand in it, and Tyrese Gibson your way across. Look, I know I'm getting nitpicky, and I usually wouldn't because I'm willing to give shows the benefit of the doubt when they're good enough because, like, I'm just along for the ride, you know? I'm cruising. But with Squid Game, we see all of the Squid Games, and there's a system. We even have the system spelled out to us numerous times, and this challenge just goes against that system, and it frustrates me. It frustrates me so badly. The only way I can conflate it in my mind is if, like, Dr. Doom is betraying his moral code because he has to entertain the VIPs and they'll get bored of it if no one dies, but there's no indication that this is the case. He doesn't seem to have any beef with the VIPs, and he doesn't struggle with his decisions at all. I don't know, it's just a shame because this particular Squid Game is really intense to watch, and it's one of the more interesting concepts, but it just kind of fell apart for me when I thought about it too hard. Anyway, we're down to our last 4. Glass Factory, Sungwoo, Pickpocket, and Ji-hoon. Also, I'm going to start calling Pickpocket Sae-byuk now because that's her real name, and I've actually grown to really like this character by this point. She's gone through some growth that I've mostly glossed over, but like, if you've missed that, then that's your fault for watching this dumb video instead of actually watching Squid Game. Dr. Doom turns out the lights because Elijah Price was using them to tell a difference in the panels, and then Sungwoo is like, well, now you've outlived your usefulness, idiot, and yeets him into the last panel. It breaks, he dies, and our heroes all make it across just in time. Then, in a completely unnecessary display of plot contrivance, the panels all explode and shower the survivors in broken glass. Our 3 survivors are back in the break room. Ji-hoon goes up to Sungwoo and he's like, hey, why didn't you tell me you were a murderer? And Sungwoo is like, dude, pay attention, you're literally the last one to figure that out. We see that poor Sae-byuk has been utterly skewered by the explosion of glass last episode. You see, she needed to be written out of the final episode, and I guess we needed some dramatic tension in this episode. Sungwoo ends up killing her anyway. It just strikes me as kind of a strange writing decision. Whatever, we're near the end now. See you later, Sae-byuk. You deserve better. Elsewhere, we've got to start wrapping up storylines, so Junho has pinched some scuba gear and swum to a neighbouring island. Dr. Doom and his boys have followed him, and they literally reenact the last bit of Empire Strikes Back, where Junho is like, the Squid Games killed my brother, and Doom is like, no, I am your brother, and the audience is like, oh yeah, he was looking for his brother. Brother Doom shoots Junho, who falls off the cliff like, yo, I'll see you guys in Squid Game 2, Return of the Jedi. It's time for the last Squid Game, and it is Squid Game. Hell yeah, we're back to pure, unabashed, undistilled Squid Game. We've got Ji-hoon on offense, Sungwoo on defense. Squid Game. Sungwoo stances up with a knife, but Ji-hoon is ready with the old one-legged pocket sand maneuver. He strolls across the center of the Squid Game like an absolute gangster. The devs decide that the pocket sand ability is OP and needs to be nerfed, so it begins to rain. Ji-hoon just needs to get to the other side of the Squid Game and he'll win not just the Squid Game, but the whole Squid Game. This is the most Squid Game that the show has been, and it's finally living up to its name. Squid Game. Ji-hoon makes a run for victory, but Sungwoo stops him. They brawl. It's nuts. There's eye gouges, dick punches, knife stabs, it's all happening, but eventually Ji-hoon gets the upper hand. He has the chance to kill Sang-woo, but he can't bring himself to do it. He offers his former friend one last chance to leave the Squid Game and they'll split the money. Sang-woo isn't having it and ends up taking his own life. Ji-hoon wins the Squid Game. Ji-hoon is freed. He returns home to find that his mum has died. The main reason he went back to the Squid Game was so that he could pay for a medical treatment. Too late. That'll teach you for being born in a country that doesn't have socialised healthcare. Idiot. Time skip. A year has passed. We see that Ji-hoon hasn't spent any of his Squid Game winnings. He gets a message, apparently sent from his gunboo. Huh. Ji-hoon goes to the meeting place and it's Old Man. He's not dead, but he is a baddie, as it turns out. He was behind the whole Squid Game from the start and only entered it because he missed hanging out and playing games with his friends. He dies. And it's epilogue time. Ji-hoon fulfills his promise to both Sang-woo and Sae-byok, taking care of the family they left behind. He dyes his hair a truly alarming shade of red. He's about to leave the country and go to live with his daughter in America when he realizes that this show made a boatload of money and there's almost definitely going to be a season 2. He speaks to Brother Doom on the phone and he's like, I'm coming. It's time for Squid Game 2. Squid harder. So there you go. That's Squid Game. It's pretty good. Like I've said, it's not perfect, but definitely worth watching. Even when the writing's a bit wonky, it's well made enough that you don't really notice until some pretentious douchebag points it out in a YouTube video. Sorry.
Don't come at me about Squid Game, cause I feel insane when I explain all the little things. Try they just how simply they could change. Gotta show off my big brain. Find in fame when I say, don't hate the Squid player, hate the motherfucking Squid Game.